Hey, it's Ashley and I'm back with another haircut tutorial. Today we are going to be doing a buzz cut, which I am so excited about, so stay tuned to watch this full buzz cut tutorial and tips and tricks on how to get the perfect buzz cut. Here we go. So I am starting off this buzz cut with my number 8 guard. This is going to be my longest guard on top. My client's never cut his hair into a buzz cut before, and so I was really excited to do this video, and so was he. So I'm just going to take everything down with this number 8 guard just so we don't have any shock come in through, taking all this hair off of him. Of course, when you're doing the same length guard all over, your sides are going to look a lot longer than your top. And that's just because the way the head shape is, this bottom part is a lot further down and closer to the ground, and the top is not, and it has a bunch of curves. So we're going to go in and just kind of remove this hair with the hair growth, and you can see it's all kind of being styled where it was pushed back, which is fine. It's just not going to cut as well because of this. So in that case, I'm just going to continue on and kind of work around all this bulk of hair and really get it out of my way. I'm going in with that number 8 just all around again, and I'm making sure I'm cutting everything down to length. So I'm going to do this for a while, just going in and removing everything, using my comb to really help guide my clippers through this long hair so that I'm not fighting it as much. As you can see there, sometimes your hair won't want to pick up to that original 8 guard length. So we're just going to use our comb to kind of get it in there as much as we can. And so I also noticed that this hair is kind of going backwards. So whenever I come in at this top, I'm going to kind of cut towards the client's face instead of cutting it going back, as you can see right here, going towards his face to really get that hair all down to the same length. And it's going to start looking crazy, and it's going to start looking like we don't know what we got going on here, but we do, so don't worry. We're just going to continue on through with this 8, getting everything down. And I will show you a trick to make sure that everything's looking the same length whenever you're cutting this hair that is kind of in hair shock, I call it. We're gonna just keep moving through, no freaking out, nothing's looking even, it's okay. Client can't see it, he's got glasses. So continuing through, making sure I'm working around this cowlick and trying not to spend too much time at the bottom because I will go back in with a shorter guard and fade this out. So this first part's really about just cutting everything down and getting this hair out of my way. And I want the client to feel really confident in this length at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and try to make sure it's all cut down. I did have a nice consultation with him beforehand, and we discussed, what we were looking for this buzz cut. We wanted a longer buzz cut. The picture was an inspiration, and his top was a lot longer, which right now he's looking super fluffy and fuzzy, but he's not going to stay that way. And I'm going to fix this by going in and spraying the client down with some water and then blow drying it because the hair is just in hair shock. And we need to double check this top before I can show it to my client, because if he looks at it like this, he's going to be like, what did I do to myself? But now I can kind of go in and get this hair to really lay like it actually is going to lay once this haircut is finished and washed. It's not going to be perfect, but it will be a rough representation. So definitely stay tuned to see how this haircut turns out if you have any doubts right now. I know if I was looking at this haircut, I would be like, what is going on? So I'm just going in and getting this hair down to its actual growth pattern so that I can go in with that number 8 and cut it all down to the actual length. I'm also going to let my client double check this length on top and make sure he doesn't want to really go any shorter, because he could want to go shorter and have a tighter buzz cut, but I'm pretty positive he doesn't. So we're going to get the client to double check everything after I cut this back down with that number 8. And you're going to see I'm going to take a good bit of hair off here because all that hair that was growing in opposite directions was not getting picked up by the actual true length of this number 8 guard. So I always like to go back in, and after I wash his hair, I'm going to go back in as well because clippers aren't exactly perfect, and sometimes I'll even go in with my shear over comb to really double check the length of my clippers on the top of somebody's head. I'm definitely not a just clipper cut barber, so you're going to see me use my shears in this clipper cut, and it might be a little different than some buzz cuts, but I'm going to explain to you exactly why I would not use all of my clippers to fade this all the way out. So I'm giving my client his glasses so he can check this length on top, and I'm just going to discuss this haircut. So I asked him previously if we were going to fade the sides or not, and so he wasn't sure what he wanted to do, but I'm telling him that this flip around his ear is going to get cleaned up. I can give him a slight fade so that it doesn't look as long on the sides, and we kind of have more dimension in this haircut and more fun and versatility. So I'm really just giving him a rundown. I let him know that I am going to clean up the cowlick of his bangs and give him more of a clean lineup, and that his hair is kind of just in hair shock right now. But I really just want to get a gauge on if the top's length is short enough for him. And he said yes, he likes the length on the top. That's what he was looking for, and I can fade the sides. So that's exactly what we are going to do. I like to get my clients to definitely check in during their haircuts if I am doing something completely different on them, just so that their comfort zone is good and that I am explaining myself and my process so they're not freaking out internally. When a client freaks out, you can feel it. You start to freak out and you're like, why am I freaking out? And it's because the client's freaking out and you're feeling that energy from them. So definitely want to make sure your client is always aware of what you're doing to their hair if it is a dramatic change. So right here you can see I'm going in with this number 4. And you can just see that it's not dramatically shorter, but it definitely gives his head a bit more of a shape instead of that all one length. And it's gonna just fade out really nicely for him. So I'm working this up, and I'm keeping it kind of low below my parietal ridge, just so that I can go back in with my number 5 and ride it on my parietal ridge. And that should almost blend this haircut from that 8 to a 5 right in if you're working at or a little bit above that parietal ridge. So you can see I took my 4 and opened it, and I went ahead and rubbed that just right above the 4 underneath the parietal ridge. And now I'm going to go in with my 5, and I am just working this guard up the parietal ridge, really riding it out. And I kind of don't want his cowlick back here to stay super long, so I am going to cut it down on that crown with my 5.5 so that I can give more dimension. The back's not going to be super fluffy on him. You can see I'm kind of keeping almost like a U shape, like a horseshoe, around to the 5 into the crown. So this is going to keep an illusion that his crown's not super fluffy and long than everything else when it's growing out, and his cowlick doesn't start sticking straight out in about 2 weeks when this haircut's kind of done. So you can see how much this 5.5 made this haircut look a lot cleaner and smoother. And whenever I line him up, we're just going to have such a totally different person in the chair. It's pretty crazy. I've been really wanting a buzz cut, and no one's came in and asked me for one except him. And I was so excited when he showed me the picture. I'm like, is this a buzz cut? He's like, absolutely. I'm like, dude, sign me up. Let's do it. So I'm going ahead and just double checking that 4.5, making sure it all blends in seamlessly. And then I'm just going to lightly taper the back of the neck. As you can see right here, there's a lot of length and a lot of fluff going on. So I'm going in with clippers closed, using that comb kind of as a guide to meet everything to the same level. And then I'm going to go ahead and open up my clippers a little bit and kind of tap into this line I've created, and then opening them up all the way and tapping that line again. And you can see I'm really kind of planing out and going up with this pattern of hair growth so that I can kind of ridge out on the occipital bone, and that's going to give me a really seamless fade. And so using your comb at the tiniest part is going to be a half guard, and at the biggest part is going to be a number 1 guard. So we can take this from that base of a half, and we can ride it all the way up the occipital bone and blend that straight into the number 4 clipper over comb really seamlessly. I'm not going to make this a super tight tapered haircut, only because it is a buzz cut. We're looking for a more rough, rugged look, and so we don't want a precise, clean look. But I'm not going to leave a client's neck tapered, not tapered and looking super heavy and bulky. So we're just going to give this light, rough taper with clipper over comb. I really don't like to fade from a 0 to a half guard to a 1 to a 1.5 to a 2 if it's not necessary. And right here it's just not necessary. This occipital part is going to start to go into a 3.5 by itself, and we can just kind of take some of that weight out and lighten up the back of this neck. So you can see I am just following my guide I've already created by going up the head and elevating slowly at a 45-degree angle with my clipper over comb. And I am just working my way from the back of the neck from one side to the other, making sure it matches every time I'm pulling that hair up parallel. You can kind of see that weight work itself out. And then I do a little bit of a angle so that I can get that 45-degree smooth on kind of that piece that sticks out in the middle of the client's head at the occipital bone. Now going in with my trimmers, I am going to pull out any loose hairs that are kind of straggling around, and then just creating that nice little C shape for this client's haircut. I will then go down and make sure we have everything nice and clean. And you can see me just slowly creating my shape for this client's sideburn. I like to follow the natural pattern and just clean up any vellus hairs that are around that hairline that don't go. So we're not kind of removing the client's hairline and creating a new one. We're just cleaning up their natural hair growth pattern. And this always leaves a really nice clean out, because when we're taking off a client's actual hair growth pattern, instead of following it, you create places that grow out faster than the actual haircut because it wasn't supposed to be cut in the first place. So always remember that when you are cutting someone's hair, if you're going to cut into their natural hairline, that is going to grow out before anything else in this haircut, and it's going to look kind of rough. So working my way around this ear, I'm kind of using the back end of my teeth on both sides and kind of switching back and forth from those to get this little bit of a C curve around the ear. My client does have some head scarring, so it does kind of make it a little difficult to get around here. There's just weight displacement and dips in the head that normally wouldn't be there, but that is fine. And I think head scars are super cool and super fun and interesting. I always tell little boys when I see them with some scars, I'm like, dude, this looks like you are a warrior, you know? Looks like you fought some battles in this life. So I think it makes someone have a lot more interest and a little bit of a story in their life when they have some head scars. So definitely don't ever feel like you need to hide them. I think they're cool. So I'm just going to get my client to look down, and I'm going to clean up that clipper over comb a little bit with my trimmer over comb, just because it gives me a little bit tinier area of detail to use and really see. And then I just drag my comb down where the natural hairline kind of starts and get all that light hair off of the back of the neck. And then you can see right here, he kind of has like a little ducktail that I'm trying to work itself out. And that is where you pull it up and it will actually almost open up two corners on both sides and a gap in the middle. And so all you do is you pull that up and you kind of knock that corner, those double corners off, and it should lay it down a little bit lighter so you don't have all that weight in that ducktail. So now I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side, cleaning up those sideburns, cleaning up that hairline, and really just kind of tapering around the ear so that it's not as heavy. Again, not taking off my client's natural hair growth so that we don't have a crazy grow out later on. All right, so after I have everything cleaned up, I'm going to clean off the client, dust everything off, check all my lines, make sure it looks good. So now I'm going to go in with that shear over comb and just do some finishing touches. So right here I noticed a lot of weight around this ear and that scarring that I had mentioned earlier. So I'm just going to fine tune it with this shear over comb, and look, you can see when I bring that weight out, it kind of pops out because the weight was just kind of misplaced with that number 4. It couldn't really get it. And then I'm going in and just knocking off any extra corners left over from that 5 blended into that number 8. So the reason why I don't like personally to go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with all my halves is there's just not enough room in this haircut. And if we're working with the head shape itself, we are going to be able to get a really nice smooth fade if we just lightly skip over some guards at the parietal ridge and blend it in just a little bit, even clipper over comb, shear over comb. One of those are going to do better than blending all the way up to that 7. You're going to end up at an 8 with just on the bangs. So personally, I enjoy to use shear work in my buzz cuts because I think it makes for a more detailed, better buzz cut. So in here, I am pulling these cowlicks down and I am snipping them with my shear over comb because they just don't belong. And I'm kind of pulling it out towards the face and just shaping it up before I actually give a wash and a little bit more of a detail to this cut. So just taking off some of that weight by the sideburns, and you can see that just really smooths everything out. So we're gonna go wash it and then we'll be right back. And look how excited he is when he's checking out that haircut. And this is before we washed it, and I kind of fine-tuned the bangs a little bit more for him. So he was excited, I was really excited. Here we go with the finishing details. I am going to cape him, blow dry this hair because clippers do not like to pick up wet hair. So we're just gonna blow dry this buzz cut out, and in here I am looking and checking every detail of this haircut and making sure that we don't have any crazy long hairs anywhere, and that everything's kind of completely dry and going in the direction that it actually lays and grows. And once I make sure this is completely dry, I'm going to go back in with my guards and I'm going to double check this cut. So going in with a number 4, I'm going to start at the base and just make sure we're getting anything that we didn't pick up earlier when it was kind of in shock from its haircut. So just running that all over. And then if I need to, I'm gonna open up that 4. And there we go, I opened up that number 4, and I'm going to just go back around the parietal ridge into that 5 that we've already put there. And you would be surprised how much hair is actually coming off when you go back in and double check a buzz cut. So please make sure you're double checking a buzz cut, because if a client wanted a buzz cut with a bunch of stragglers, they could have bought themselves a pair of clippers cheaper than your haircut and had the same cut. So we are going to double check our buzz cuts every time. I'm going in with that 5, that 5.5 open. Remember, I ran it up a little bit higher on the crown because of the head shape. We can give it the illusion that it matches that number 8, and making sure that cowlick's not going to overgrow when this haircut grows out. So last but not least, I'm going to go in with my number 8 guard, and you're gonna see this takes off a good bit of that shape that just wasn't cut to a true length, a true 8. And that's because the hair was in hair shock and it's never had a buzz cut and it's only been scissor cut. So we always have to double check our guards after we do a buzz cut. Now just going in with that 8, running it over, double checking, making sure it's grabbing any stragglers, pretty surprised at how much hair it's still grabbing onto. And now I'm working out that bang cowlick because it grows in all different directions. As you can see, we actually have hair growing forward and then hair growing backwards. So it is trying to push that hair straight up. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of take my shears and edit it like a little hedge. I'm gonna try to use my thinning shears to kind of lighten up some of this texture that more so sits on his face. And that's just in that bang area. And you can see, look how much hair it grabs whenever I pulled it out forward. And I was like, oh wow, that's a lot of hair. So I'm gonna actually grab my shears and I'm gonna cut that more because it's clearly not at the same level as all of the rest of his hair. So here I'm just point cutting into his little widow's peak that developed from his cowlicks. And now I'm going to kind of just trim this up like a hedge bush. As you can see, I'm keeping the hair flat, almost like a flat top, and I am just kind of etching it out so that it's not as obvious. I'm using my mirror as a guide to really see what the shape is. Sometimes when you're standing in it, it's a little bit harder to see, so I definitely like to take a step back and double check. Now I'm going to get all that loose hair off my client that we just cut from our recut of our buzz cut. Everything looks great. I am so excited he let me do this haircut on him. Here is him getting to check out his official final buzz cut. He's gonna put his glasses on, and he was so excited. He loved it, and I couldn't be happier. Look at this before and after, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and liking my videos. Please, if you would like more haircut tutorials or ASMR haircut videos, don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button, and I will see you back next time. I appreciate it, guys. See you soon.